And we're back. Logan Podcast, week 3,322. Today we're talking about The Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell. Really like this book. Overall, if I'm going to pick a free read book, I'm going to be picking a war book 9 out of 10 times. It's just my cup of tea. And only critique I kind of got on this book, it's a little bit like a podcast. I could see the writer sitting down, talking to someone and recording it and then throwing it in this book. It's not really like a story, but I still enjoyed it because of the war, the facts. Really like it. But we start in the Pacific Theater with Haywood Hansel. He's replaced by Curtis LeMay. They're currently attacking Japan in July of 1945. So war about to end. World War II is about to end, and he currently just gets replaced by Curtis LeMay. Quote by Haywood: "I thought the earth had fallen, and I was completely crushed." This dude, really passionate about his job, really like that. He's kind of the main character going into this. We're gonna follow him throughout the entire story. Next chapter, next part, we jump into the precision bombing with the Norden bomb sight. This was a device that could make calculations from 30,000 feet, depending on temperature, height, altitude, wind. Crazy thing. This was made by Carl Norden, and it's for the B-19, B-29 long-range bombers. Oh, Sam Weinbrenner is coming in with the facts.
Yes, with this new invention, you can drop bombs into pickle barrels from 30,000 feet.
Well, thank you, Sam. Really needed to know that, because when you want to strike a target, you want to strike it on the dot. Is pretty much what you want to do. But see, this idea was brought up to the Royal Air Force, and Royal Air Force was not a big part of it. They really liked nighttime bombing, cluster bombs, carpet bombs, just anything to pummel cities. And America they thought that was a waste of materials. A lot of planes, a lot of fuel, a lot of bombs being used, and they would rather use the daytime bombing with the Norden bomb sight. But the British, they would rather destroy the morale of their country. They were currently battling Germany, and this was a huge part of World War II. Winner of this pretty much wins the war. And originally, Winston Churchill was like, "Hey, let's not do the daytime bombing. It's too dangerous. Too many shootings. We gotta stick to the nighttime bombing. It's less likely you get shot. Does use more fuel." But Eaker convinced Winston Churchill to do Americans' plan during the day. I think this is a great idea. Do Americans' plan in the day, and then do Britain's plan during the night. This is all around time on Germany, breaking that morale down, breaking down their aqueducts, all their rotary springs, and this will eventually crumple Germany. And I think without this technique of day and nighttime bombing, that the rush on Normandy probably could not have happened. And I would say the Bomber Mafia had a big part into this. Now, who is the Bomber Mafia? They were the leaders of the Air Corps Tactical School. This was kind of like a school. It was a school in Alabama. It used to be an old plantation, and they were the teachers at the school trying to teach these pilots to drop bombs from 30,000 feet. The people who were I say leaders, but they're the teachers. You got Ira Eaker, Haywood Hansel, Harold George, and Donald Wilson were kind of like the main circle. They would often bounce ideas off each other, just trying to, find the best way to win this war during World War II. They were very strong in their beliefs with their ideals. They came from all over the world. They had a Dutch genius, a pyromaniac from Harvard, and then a band of brothers from Alabama. That's where their academy is located, so that's where they're all at. And after it kind of goes over it goes Bomber Mafia, then we go to you could say the English Channel, but more like the European theater with Europe, USA, and Germany. We go back to the Pacific Theater, where we talk about LeMay and Hanswell, where when Hanswell was in power, I wouldn't say in power, but leading, he wouldn't use napalm. He only used bombs and precision bombing that often make a miss because of the Japan, bunch of clouds, super high up, super windy. Also had crazy fierce fighters. If you don't know about that, pretty much the Japanese would rather die on the battlefield than return home alive. And so this made it super difficult for General Haswell because he's trying to use precision bombing, a whole bunch of stuff just not going his way. So he gets demoted because he wouldn't use napalm. And Curtis LeMay comes in and he's like, hey, I'm going to use napalm. I'm going to set these buildings on fire. I'm going to do my thing. So he comes in there, completely destroys Japan, calls it a day. Then he finally gets Japan to surrender, but it was very controversial on the campaign. Like, should we really be burning down a whole bunch of people's houses? I don't really know, but I guess for the war, would it have saved casualties? I don't know how many people died in the fire bombings, but I know it was a crazy amount. Would it have saved American lives or any lives if we didn't firebomb, or if we did firebomb? But basically, the only reason why LeMay took all the glory is because he used napalm, even though it was like super controversial. Nobody knew why, but eventually Japan folded. They surrendered and said, hey, we're done here. And then after the Pacific Theater, we kind of get to the conclusion of the book. It's like telling about the advances. So we go into a story in Afghanistan. Their U.S. military area occupation zone was getting attacked by the Taliban, and they were like, we need some bombing coverage. We can't get out of here. There's 3 buildings, a whole bunch of men in there, and they get a call from the general. It's like, hey, I got a plane. He's going to, hey, I got a plane. He's going to drop 3 bombs off. It's going to blow up all 3 houses, all of his men. Won't hurt any of your men. And it was just, and it's kind of funny because, like, you know, it's talking about destroying all 3 houses. The title of the chapter, it's a conclusion. It says, all of a sudden all of a sudden the air house would be gone. Poof. And that's kind of like saying, like, hey, the evolution of bombing has gone from completely missing by football fields at a time, just nowhere close to your target, to hitting a pickle barrel, absolutely demolishing houses until they're nothing. And I think that this book kind of just like opens my eyes, like, hey, there's people who spent so much time on like trying to figure out some crazy stuff, and I personally really enjoyed this book. Kind of wish it wasn't a podcast, but I learned a lot of information about these dudes, the Bomber Mafia, and just like, it sounds like a fun job. I think I'd actually enjoy it if I did, because like you get your name in history for something that's like cool, and so I would give this book an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, that's a good score. I really like that. Now to kind of expand, like, we're in Afghanistan blowing up places. You gotta think, it started all the way back in China, where they originally found gunpowder for fireworks, and they eventually made cannons with it. And then with the Mongol conquest, it started spreading everywhere, went down the Middle East. And what I think was interesting about, like, the Middle East is you had, like, castles, and I think, like, the original maybe idea of bombing, they used to drop flaming oil and grease on people to, like, stop them from climbing castle walls. So I think that's maybe, like, a kind of beginner idea of bombing. But once the gunpowder got to the Middle East, started spreading all the way through Europe and then to America, and then it just kept developing over and over. And we started like, hey, what if we put it in a gun or on a plane and drop it on people and see how big an explosion we can make? So then we had the Atom Project, or the Manhattan Project, to make the atomic bomb that we dropped on Japan. And then the Cold War was all about nuclear bombs, trying to make the biggest bomb, trying to scare Russia, trying to scare America, Cuban Missile Crisis. By the way, if you did not know, the Cuban Missile Crisis, you needed 3 people to, like, launch off the nukes from the subs. 2 people put their key in. 1 person did not. Probably saved the entire globe from nuclear destruction. But now we got the Ukraine war, and it's being threatened about nuclear bombs again. So people are a lot of scared, but you can see where we went. We went from Chinese fireworks with gunpowder all the way up to city destroying bombs and just like mass destruction bombs that like just every country has. So I say I would personally say that like the invention of bombs might not have been like such a great idea, because it puts a lot of fear into the people, and like that's your only way of controlling is just saying, hey, I'm gonna blow up your entire country. I don't know how I really feel about that, because like this is a good theory that I've thought. If like Russia sends a nuclear bomb over to like America and like hits California or whatever, I wonder if the government would like tell the people of California like, hey, you're about to get hit by a missile, because you have I think it's like 4 to 2 minutes. I would let those people just live happily, and then I guess disintegrate. That's what I would do if I was the government. But I feel like they would tell them and like try to hide, but like you're not gonna hide from a nuclear bomb. It's just not what you can do. But that is episode 3,322 Logan Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.